Hey, sports fans! Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show coming at you after Game 4 of the NBA Finals. We have ourselves a series, guys. Very, very exciting. And as always, I'm joined by referee Chip Clark to break down some stuff and talk about calls, talk about the plays, about what happened in the game, hear from you guys especially. And Chip, what did you think, my man? You excited about another Game 5 that should be have implications for the whole series?
Yeah, it should be a good game. 5 is going to be a good one. I've really been impressed with these last two games. They've been great games, start to finish. Excellent job by Indiana most of this game, man. They had pedal to the metal. And then their shot went broke in the last few minutes down the stretch. Couldn't hit a field goal. Seems like they couldn't hit a free throw down the stretch, and that was the reason for the OKC comeback. They left the door open for them, and OKC took advantage of it. And in my opinion, I think – I can't remember if they said it on there, but I don't think they scored a field goal in the last 2 minutes, Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to remember that off the top of my head. But anyway, missing shots down the stretch, missing free throws down the stretch is not a recipe for success, especially in a close game. And that's not something we're used to seeing out of Indiana. They're usually ones that they kind of finish out games strong, but tonight was not their night at the end.
Yeah, I good call. I agree. You know, what's frustrating as a coach is when you're watching OKC's offense overall, like the whole game, they're not really running a lot of offense. It's kind of frustrating, but they're so tough. Like they were hitting shots. Like Caruso hits that shot going to the baseline on a turnaround, under heavy pressure with the shot clock winding down. And then every shot SGA hit, it's impossible. It's like contested, having already gone hand-to-hand combat with everybody. And we'll have to get into the refereeing and the style of defense that they're having to put up with. I don't know how anyone's supposed to referee these games now. I mean, this is just insane. Because, again, we can't have a whistle blown every single time. Referees know that. The players know that. And even still, like, we're noticing things where, like, they won't call it because, they're getting in legal guarding position. They're getting directly in the path. They're showing their chest. It is good defense, good physical playoff defense. So I'm relatively happy. I know that SGA hit a really key step back on the baseline as he was almost falling down.
Yeah.
And we've talked a little bit about this where he uses his right arm. And we talked about it in the last show as well in terms of what extension means versus, like in theory, even if you have your arm bent, you could use that as a battering ram and really knock a guy off backwards without having to straighten the arm to push off.
Yep.
What did you think about that particular step back? And because there's a lot of stuff happening along that whole drive.
Yeah, absolutely. So that one's tough in that instance. I don't see an elbow to wrist extension on that to clear out. Also, another thing to keep in mind, like we mentioned last show, is as he's pulling to step back, that can give the impression that space that he's creating, he's not closing space anymore, he's creating space. It can give the impression that there's more of a push off than's actually there. But then I think, between that and then the step back itself after he gathered the ball, it's probably going to have a lot of people shaking their head. But I'm here to tell you, sorry, I'm not just an apologist for the refs. I'm sorry to tell you, though, that he gathered the ball on his left foot. He stepped with his right foot for step one after the foul, and then his left foot for step two, and that was a legal play. He did not travel after that foul call.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I posted it. I just wanted to say, give the Pacers fans a chance to vent a little bit because I knew they would be really upset. And nothing I was going to say that you just described was going to calm anybody down on that one.
And my words aren't going to calm them down either. I understand that.
Yeah.
I get the frustration on that. All I can say is this. I felt, and I'm going to have people disagree with me, but I've got plenty of examples of how consistently they officiated on both ends of the floor tonight, similar plays. They match plays really well. Shea gets one down on this end when Nembhard fouls, or he gets fouled by Nembhard, where Nembhard's trying to fight around a screen and bumps into, in his closing space, bumps into him, and he's moving toward him at contact, and they call the foul. 2 possessions later, or 3 possessions later, Indiana comes down, and SGA gets called for a similar foul against Halliburton, I believe. Then near the end of the game, Chet kind of reaches in, bumps Halliburton as he's driving to the basket. Same type of play that we saw on the other end. And then he gets called for the foul. And then you see this foul called on the other end too with SGA on the pull-up. So all you can ask for as fans is consistency, right? Right?
Right. Well, I mean, you can hear the crowd, the bloodlust they wanted, no matter what the call was. If that
Right.
whistle went up again and it was going to be against Indiana, it was the worst call I've ever seen. It was tough. It was interesting to listen to. And I get it. I've been in that situation back in the day when I was cheering for a team. But at some point, you wish they could at least have some balance on that one. To answer your question about field goals for Indiana, the last one they got was at 3:20 to go in the game with the Halliburton finger roll. When he got the basket, there was no rotation help. I was like, wait, where's Chet? Why isn't he there? But he was actually part of the pick and roll as Halliburton, I believe, rejected the screen. They got there, and then it should have been Williams rotating over from the weak side corner off of Siakam, and he didn't budge and knew to get there. So after that, they didn't get any. There's a turnover. They missed a 20. Nemhart missed a 20-footer. Turner had to try and do a pull up off of that kick out from Halliburton that he missed, and then Mathurin had his free throw.
Yeah, when you don't score in the final 3+ minutes, a field goal, when you miss 3 free throws, when you have like 2 turnovers, 1 or 2 turnovers, and then when you get called for 2 away from the play fouls in the final 2 minutes, it's hard to win in a close game.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
It was a bizarre seesaw game back and forth in a way where Chet Holmgren finishes with 14 points, 4 for 9 from the field, 6 for 6 from the line, 15 rebounds. But he was really, really bad for the big stretch in the middle of the game. And then he comes back and finally starts making some plays. And there's no coincidence that when he got a tip dunk, he got fouled, he got some free throws. He finally his presence was being felt, and they came right back into the game. They need him to be even better, and they should probably feel pretty good that I thought overall he played pretty ineffectively, and they pulled this game out. But obviously, when you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander who can make shots, and I thought he was fine, but then he got good, and I thought Jalen Williams was fine, and then he also got good a little bit down the stretch as well, and right when they needed it to. Otherwise, who knows? And then Caruso was solid all the way across the game defensively as well. So.
And SGA's fine was 20+ points, and then he turned it on. You know what I mean? It's like that's his fine, but you're right. He was missing some of those pull-up jumpers from the mid-range that we see him make constantly throughout portions of the game. And then he turned it on and he couldn't miss. Big 3-point basket from the wing, big step back after the foul. What were you going to say?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I even just see somebody saying Pacers choked. They didn't really choke. I think that this was OKC turning up the heat. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And the thing I've noticed, I feel like, is that there's a frenetic energy the Pacers have to play with to kind of compete. And they're going 100%, whereas the Thunder don't. They only need to go 85%. They're smoother. They're under control. They're just like, oh, are you really, I'm just going to lay this in. Like, we saw that happen. And as a coach, it's actually gratifying to see the team that's really playing as hard as they possibly can, finding the success, and just about on the verge of they had just about had this game and it would have been over. The series would have been over. So, but we can't forget OKC has a different speed. They do have a different level that they play at, where they don't need to give out 100% all the way, and that's a difference where you could see it in the way they play, and they can kind of pick and choose a little bit better and be maybe on balance a little bit better. Whereas it's Pacers are playing with desperate frenetic energy, and that's something that's exciting to watch. But let's get. I was going
to ask you about Chet real quick. Do you think some of his lull throughout the game had anything to do with his ankle, him tweaking it early on, or anything like that?
Wait, did he tweak it early on? Because I thought we saw some of the screen. Oh, you're right. He did. He kicked his foot and they called the foul.
Put the foot contact that was correctly called a trip foul, by the way, Pacers fans. It was definitely a trip foul. And then he rolled his ankle right after that. But yeah, I don't know. Was he favoring it that much?
It looked like he was moving around okay, but he also looked like he was in a lot of pain toward the end of the game, certainly. So that's a good call. I hear you, and that actually would explain it all, I suppose, because the wheels are when they're not working well. And they mentioned that with TJ McConnell, who had a lull during the season when his ankles were messed up, and then when you can see the difference, right? Like, he is so much faster, energetic when he's not in pain and his ankles work. So,
but then how do you explain Chet turning it on for that portion near the end of the game, or going into their big run?
At some point, you maybe take a little Advil, it kicks in, the adrenaline, all those things happen, and they're lucky because they're going to have 2 days off now to get treatment, where he should be able to come back and be better that way. But I also think that Chet can get into these weird funks. independent of that as well. And it is because he's frail and he's thin and he gets pushed around. It's hard. And when he's at his best when he is demonstrably emotional and he's like, displaying it that way. I like to see more of that. But again, there's no question if he's banged up with the wheels, then I could see how that would weigh on him and become a problem. But man, he came through when they absolutely needed to, and they got that lead from like 8 or 10 to 6 and then 4. He was right there for that, and then they cleaned it up. But we're going to talk about some of the issues I think strategically that Dagnall is getting out coached on. Even though they won. But let's get to some super chats. We got a bunch here. And don't forget, if you want to have your question answered, we'd love to hear from you. The best way to do that is a super chat on the YouTube side. So if you're over on wherever else and you want us to talk to you and react to your questions, head over to YouTube and do a super chat. We'd love to have it. And friend of the breakdown, Cliffside, as always, there. Great to see you. Thanks so much for the oh, by the way, I just noticed this. He's got 3 Fs in Cliffside. I didn't realize that. I wonder if that is. All right. Well, thanks so much, Cliff. SGA made a good point in that interview. OKC getting stops on defense means Indy couldn't apply the same pressure after a made basket. Defense is key. There's no question that they're playing the long game here, where they got an 8-second violation, right? They were pressing in the backcourt, and that's causing problems for the OKC. And by the way, that gets to the out-coaching stuff because they're not – I don't think that they're attacking the press well enough because when they're stretching themselves out, it's an opportunity to either get into the break or they're just letting the guy dribble the ball up and, slalom up the court, and that's going to wear you down. They should be doing some quick hitters with like 40-foot passes up the court and then breaking into an offense quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure that like not allowing them to be able to get pressure and set on those type things is really huge because we've seen Indy create a lot of turnovers out of those situations. We saw it last game especially. So, I mean, that's an excellent point. You get those stops on defense down the stretch in that last 3 minutes and something. They can't apply that pressure like they would after a made basket. Excellent point that the SGA made in that post game for sure.
Yeah. And you know what? Indiana was still actually executing, for the most part, their offense. They were getting the ball in the high post, doing some splits. Like if you watch the video today, I broke it down, and they're using the handoff in a really advantageous way because, when you got Dort and you got Caruso, by the way, I loved it. We had a play where they both fouled the guy, and been ecstatic for all the Pacers fans. When you have guys like that, and listen, they're grabbing, they're holding, they're doing all these things. That's going to happen with, where how do you release that pressure, right? And so the get actions that we see when you pitch the ball out and then sprint after it and get the handoff. A handoff is a very safe pass. It's harder to get that stolen. You're going away from the basket and you're coming in behind the player. And if they're going to try and slide in there, it could be a foul, whatever. And we've seen, by the way, Dort like slide in there and even deny the handoff. But that's amazing when you're able to do that defensively. But it's a great way to get those guys going downhill. And I thought I made a good point in the video as well as you're always trying to make those handoffs when you're going downhill on the catch. And you have to be careful about your angle sometimes because they'll throw the ball back toward the half-court line and then start running that direction toward the half-court to get the ball. Harder to turn the corner again and then be in attack mode, and that gives the defense more of a chance to push you back out. So, I think that the way they're running their offense is better than what OKC is doing. And that's why they were up 2-1 and, just about had it to go up 3-1, and that would have been it. But probably should have had it. Yeah. And look who's here. Combo.
Hey,
not at
good, bro.
What's up, guys?
It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, I'm so glad we can get into your social schedule and get you on the show.
I'm here, man.
All right. What did you think of the game?
I thought the Pacers were going to win, and then they didn't.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and then I thought I was going to be able to post all this like pro Halliburton stuff tomorrow and make people mad, and Thunder ruined my plans, Like can Halliburton become the best player in the world? I wanted something like that, and now it's just not going to be as good if I would post that. So I have to go in a different direction when it comes to the content. So just, a peek into Combo's world, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I think
OKC prevented you from doing clickbait tomorrow then, right?
I wouldn't say it's clickbait. I kind of like Halliburton's game better than SGA's game. This is so weird what just happened.
What?
So I'm looking at a commercial. Man, I'm sorry to make this all about Combo. It's like the commercial's literally in front of my house. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
That's weird, right? Wait, that's my building. Anyway, go ahead, though.
Go look out the window. Maybe you'll see yourself.
I know, right?
anyhow, I think that, yeah, by the way, the Halliburton SGA thing is a fascinating, comparison, right? Because they're so diametrically opposed to each other in terms of how they play. And we saw SGA. Did he get an assist? Let's see here. I thought he got one, and they said he had 0 on the screen. And I thought I saw one that it says 0 on the box score. So I thought he drove and dished it, but maybe the guy got fouled and didn't make the basket or something. And that's
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, Halliburton is going to be able to have an impact with his passing in a way that SGA, and it's also a function of their offense. And I just really can't say it enough at times. OKC's offense stinks. Like, they don't run a half-court offense well enough. It's just too much ISO, too much just dribble, drive, and pull up tough shots. It's a really hard way to compete at this level, and yet here we are. I don't know if they can continue. They got to find some more offense, and guess who they need to find is Hartenstein. It's not going to happen in the series. It won't happen. But they're wasting an opportunity to get him in the high post and let him be a good passer and facilitator and handoff guy. Speaking of handoffs, if they could get Hartenstein in a 2-man game with SGA doing handoffs, forget about it. So Dagnall is letting me down here because he's not controlling. I know he's got offensive plays. I know that they run them, but they're not doing it. It's frustrating.
Do you think a lot of it is just contrast when you're seeing the Pacers play and seeing them play? It makes it even look worse for OKC because of how unique the Pacers are. I mean, they really play like ball movement, player movement. They're making you think probably on defense more than any other team in the NBA.
That is true. I mean, there is the contrast, so I guess it does stand out, but it doesn't change the fact that they got to get some better actions that get them some advantages
And that's the thing with SGA. Like, he kind of could defy the odds because he's that good. Like, they're not playing the most effortless style of basketball, but it's almost like he's running through a wall and the wall is breaking down with the way they're playing basketball. It's a more seamless way, the way the Pacers play.
Well, let's get to our next one. Julius Wyatt. Thanks so much, Julius. Really, really appreciate the super chat. Amazing when Chet locks in, Thunder play better. I mean, it's not, amazing is a word. I think it just sort of makes sense. He is that unicorn at that size, and he has all that skill. Here's my worry. I tweeted this out is he's putting himself in some risky positions here with that extra long step he likes to take. Yeah. He is long. And I'm telling you, those are one of the moments when you get those, like the foot gets kicked and now you're kind of in a weird position. Then you roll your ankle. You can't not roll your ankle in those, in that position like that. So I would like to maybe see him limit some of those extra long steps, come up with something in the bag on the way to the basket. Cause it's kind of like the same thing, right? Every time he goes and they're figuring it out and they're stripping it and they're making it really hard. They blocked his shot a couple times in game 3 down the stretch. So he needs to be a little better on that kind of stuff. But yeah, when he's just kind of even going to the basket, getting tip-ins, and just being a presence on the defensive end, then he tilts the whole game.
Oh, well, yeah. He's really young. I mean, I think like both teams can't exploit the other team's inexperience because they're both inexperienced. Mm-hmm. And you're seeing a lot of that on both sides.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a great point too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when Chet locks in, man, he's absolutely a game changer for sure. And I'm interested to see how he evolves over this off season coming up too, and then going into next season. I'd love to see him bulk up a little bit. We've talked before that he's a little weak. I feel like that's going to expand his game even more if he can bulk up a little bit, get some more strength. Not only will he stay healthier potentially, but I think he's going to have more of those game changing moments on the floor. But you're right. You always talk about him being emotionally locked in too. And if he's emotionally locked in, then he's hard to stop.
Yeah. I also think he's got to stop setting the screens so wide with his feet. His shins are so long. And if he's going to put them out there, he's just going to get them cracked every time. And, he's already a little bit brittle. I think he just, if he can't get there or whatever, he doesn't, he doesn't have to be so wide. And by the way, the rule won't allow you to be too wide, but you know how people are. They try and push that boundary, but I think he should stop. It's too dangerous for him with that, how long his shins are to expose him like that.
Yeah.
All right. Shiny Haxorus. Thanks so much, Shiny. Always great to see you. Always great to have you there. I feel like you're on Twitter too. Do I see you on Twitter? Now on my mind as much, but thank you so much for the super chat. And they say, what we got to say about the grifty ticky-tack hand on shoulder foul SGA got versus the crazy push off he got away with the play after. So the ticky-tack one, that was like a quick rip through when Nesmith had his hand on his shoulder. I think that's the play, right? What do you think?
When it was like close to a travel?
No, that was a different one.
Oh, that was crazy. That was
already on the push.
Oh, you talked about that was crazy athleticism by SGA.
Yeah, to maintain balance. Yeah, and by the way, thank God, Doris got it right. She actually explained the 2 steps after the gather, so that was good. Thank God they got that one right.
Yeah.
But talk about the one the ticky tack one where he was on the shoulder and he ripped quick and he got the call.
Yeah, I mean, I understand people's frustration with that type of foul because you see this being a physical series, and so a lot of times fans equate, or they really we've talked about before, they really like to compare the degree of contact on certain foul calls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the degree of contact there is not even close to some of the degree of contact we've seen even be let go from time to time, right? But it's all about how it affects the shooter in this situation. If you got the hand on the shoulder as they start to rise up, even if you take it off, if they feel it affects the shot at all, they're going to call that a foul. I don't necessarily love the foul, but I mean, I can support it.
Well, there's another call, and I hope it's not talking about this one where he was up in the air trying to release it, and it was clearly contact to the wrist. I posted that one. Again, the bloodthirsty crowd. It doesn't matter how it could be a flagrant on Indiana, and they'd be screaming it's not a foul. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like. And I think it's like influencing people on watching the game at home.
Well, yeah, that's a good point too, because I will say this, and obviously both fan bases will have that. When it's back in OKC, the OKC fans are going to have that reaction too. But the Indiana Pacers team is a lot like their fans. They argue about a lot of calls. Almost every foul that they got called for, they had some type of reaction. Mm-hmm. Contrast that with the Thunder's team, who rarely, if ever, argue any foul calls. And so, I'm not saying that gets you more calls or anything like that. I'm just saying one is much easier to officiate than the other. And there's a freedom in being able to officiate and call the correct call without fear of somebody jumping down your throat. But I will say this is I don't think that he's talking about that one that you discussed, because that was clear contact in the arm. And I will say that about this one. SGA, when he rises up to shoot, he gets contacted on the wrist, or it wasn't SGA, was it? Or no, it was SGA, I think. Anyway, gets contacted on the wrist before he releases the ball, right? So it's right before he releases the ball. It's not a high five play. It's contact on the wrist before he releases the ball, and that's why that was called a foul. But as for the ticky-tack one on the hand on the shoulder, I can understand where you're coming from a little bit on that, especially if he gets away with a push-off on the other end. But, technically it's the right call. Just don't love it. It's one of those that you just don't love.
Okay.
Did you see any ones that stuck out to you? Any plays or calls that stuck out to you tonight?
You're talking to me. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find. Somebody wants to know about the turnover at 2:04 in the fourth, and of course, this game was so long that it went. My DVR I think stopped recording and didn't keep it recording whenever it was after that. Anyway. But anyway, what you were asking? Sorry, you were asking me if there are other calls in combo. Do you feel
I was asking combo as well too?
I thought on the spin SGA didn't get fouled, and then they looked at it when they did the replay. I realized he did get fouled. And then these, I feel sometimes the commentators think it's easy to guard SGA. It's really hard not to foul him.
Yes,
because if you're not going to play aggressive, he's going to get into his mid-range easily, and then you play aggressive, you foul him. I mean, it's easier said than done to guard that guy and not foul him in the last minute because he's so shifty and he's so elusive and he's so good at drawing fouls.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the next super chat here. Yeah.
You know what else I noticed? It's also commenting on the game. In basketball, you can't take away everything. So there's always something you could comment on, they're giving that away. Right. But it's impossible, especially at this level, to when you take away something else opens up. And that's just what you got to be calculated about. That's what I've been.
You limit those opportunities by strategy.
Yes.
Well, the next super chat's about the turnover on the inbounds play with 2:04 to go. This is right after the SGA pull up, and it's going to let me do it, but I got to hit 30-second advance to get there because I can't drag my finger on my darn iPad. But I just wanted to see it again real quick. Wait, was it 2:04? When was it?
Turnover at 2:04. I'm wondering if that's the one that is being asked about.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. But here, let's put the question up here on the thing. This is from Stinky Dipey. Thanks so much, Stinky. Although I'm now at 2:02, I don't see it's 202, not 204. Anyway, they say, what do you think as a coach when you see an OKC turnover late on an inbounds pass like that? They almost did it again after the Mathurin free throws. The Mathurin free throws I didn't see because I was trying to set up the live show and I was waiting, just in case it didn't seem like it was there. But, it's terrible when they have to inbound the ball. But I don't, what's interesting, the play-by-play is not accurate here. If I'm not
I think this one was after the away from the play foul. I think it was the first away from the play call where they shot the free throw and then they got the ball back for the throw in and then they threw it away in the backcourt.
So when was that then?
Gosh, it had to be in the last minute, I would imagine.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm looking for turnover. I don't see it in the oh, you know what? I'm sorry. It is. I see it. I'll get there. Anyway, so the point being, though, is usually when you see it, it's either a combination of things. It's a terrible design by the coach, where clearly they were going to switch, and that would never have gotten open. Now they got to screw. They got to just throw the ball up because of the 5-second call. Or a terrible execution, where if they just had set a screen and put the body on somebody, then it would actually would have gotten the guy open. And so those are the things that you cannot have happen. They cannot happen, especially at the end of the game of a finals game. You've had 100 games all season long to work on these things and get them right. So here I am. I'm sorry. I got
23.4 seconds is when it happened. And I think the pass was deflected, if I'm not mistaken.
23.8 seconds, right?
23.4. Caruso's pass was.
Yeah, I got it. Here it is. Oh, I had to come back from the commercial, huh? All right. So why am I not picturing it? Oh, yeah. So they did a stack. So once I see a stack, and I wonder, can I share this screen? Anyway, they did a stack. So, when you in sixth grade, when you have an inbounds play and you have 4 players in front of you, Chip, you probably see this if you ever coach.
I see it all the time.
And once I see that, I'm already like, I don't know. I feel like when you stack like that, it's easier to guard everybody. One guy's going to go one way, the other guy's going to go the other. The third guy's going to loop back around to the basket, and then the fourth guy comes right to the red hoop. It's like everybody knows that. Now let's just see here what they did to remind myself of this play, because I know I saw this, but why am I blanking on it? And then it's also they're all stacked. Everyone's pushing each other. It's like I like space. I want to have people have their angles. So yeah, they did the thing. Oh, so they call a foul. Oh, right. Is that what he's talking about?
No. So you're just a little ahead of that. So you need to go past this foul. This was the away from the play foul, and then you'll see the free throw. And then after the free throw, Caruso inbounds the ball. They run a stack too, but they can't really get anybody open. He tries to throw it, and Halliburton makes a really good play to tap the ball away. That's
why you're here, Chip. All right, yeah. Now, I'm sorry. Now I remember, because I remember the stack and stuff, and here it is again. And they did the same play, and then Foster in there trying to break everybody up. So yeah, there's no real screen being set, and there's only one person to throw it to in that, and so it's just that's not a good design of a play. And then they ran it again, the second time. Generally, you want to mix up your out of bounds plays too, so that they're not, keeping on it. So I'll chalk it up to I don't like what the coach did on that one at all. So there you go. Let's get to our next chat because we have a whole bunch of them. Thanks so much, everybody. Giri Nandan, Giri or Giri, I don't know, but thanks so much for the wow, what is that symbol? I don't even know, but maybe it's from India. I don't even know, but there's a lot of whatever currency we're dealing in. They subbed out Turner around the 4-minute mark, went small with Siakam and Obi Toppin, and Siakam didn't get any touches in the last 4 minutes of the game. Okay. So that's a great call as well. I thought, again, the Indiana offense didn't really run. They wanted to do pick and roll with Hali out top and let him kind of be the guy. But, he's the guy out of their offense. You know what I mean? He's better at that when he's catching on the run and then getting downhill and then doing his magic. Not as much when he's just pounding the ball on top and trying to do the what's that role? The heliocentric role, I guess. Right, Combo?
Yeah, that's not really his game. His game is more about flow, and he never doesn't hold it a lot. If you look at his usage numbers, he's not holding the ball very much, and that's what I love about his game. And yeah, when they're just everybody standing and watching, it's not to the benefit of the Pacers, and it's not when they're at their best.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that subbing Obi Toppin back in for Turner there obviously was a major moment, but they're trying to recreate some of that Toppin magic from the third quarter. He was on a heater. So he comes back into the game. You're thinking, but you think back to how he got some of those buckets, those big buckets in the third quarter, and he's sitting out at the wing and they drive and kick. It's a Hali drive. He does that. He leaves his feet. He goes in the air. He turns and kicks, or it's him doing that, passing it out and then swinging around to him he gets those open 3-point attempts. And OKC was taking that away in the last few minutes. So Obi Toppin did not get any of those type of looks. They didn't get him on a cut to the basket or anything like that. So yeah, that's tough. You sacrifice size right there in the closing minutes, especially when you have the lead and you're starting to give up the lead.
Yeah.
And then you don't make that change back. Granted, Toppin could have gone off and done something big there, but that was kind of a game-changing moment, I think, as well. That's a good point.
So let me just check here. So Turner came out at the 4:19 mark, but then he came back in at 2:21. And you want him in, right? He's big, he can shoot, he can rebound, he can block shots, all that stuff. So that was good. Now, the one thing we didn't bring up yet is that they started Hartenstein tonight.
Yes, they did.
And it didn't work. Like, he didn't play that great. And then Wallace kind of suffered too, coming off the bench. So, again, they're thinking about things. They're trying to adjust and change some stuff up. I don't even know if they needed to change from the beginning anyway. And then down 2-1, I kind of get it, right? They want to make sure whatever, but that didn't help them as much either. So again, the OKC, they won. They managed to pull it out, but they have some leeway here, right, where they can get better play from some other people. I also think that the Pacers fans were arguing that they were going to shoot better from the 3-point line, which they started out doing for sure. And then, went right back. And again, even those open threes, having fought, hand-to-hand combat for most of that possession, then when it's open, it ain't so open. And we're finding it out from both teams. And we'll get into that in a minute about how they're defending that, because I think it's really interesting. Yeah. But let's get to some more super chats, but don't let me forget. I want to talk about how they're defending. I know I texted you that earlier, Chip. All right. So Ven, thanks so much, Ven. Always great to see you. Best friend of the breakdown. Chip called it 2-2. I don't like OKC offense. Similar to Knicks, a lot one man on ball. Yes, you can win that way, but it stagnates teammates' rhythm. Absolutely. And it just doesn't have to be that hard. I think SGA coming off of handoffs would be awesome, and he wouldn't shoot. What did SGA shoot today? Never mind. 12 for 24. So he was great. 50%, 1 for 4 from 3. So he was even better in that mid range. I don't know. It wouldn't be so hard. And maybe he would shoot 15 for 24, right? And then they'd be even better. So
he still gets his 35 though. He still gets his 35 points tonight. He's always going to get that. Like, that's his game. He gets those 30 to 35 or more, and that's what he gets for him. He creates a lot of his own stuff though. And so you sacrifice a lot of that ball movement for some of that type play. And that's what you get. It works sometimes it doesn't. All
right. Well, you know what? We're halfway through the show, so it's time we should bring on Chris to join us. What's up, Chris?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey,
Chris. I can't do all 4. Oh, let's see here. Nope. Hey, so I can do quads today. All right, let's see if we can keep this, going in a good flow with 4 men out here. It's always not so easy, but let's see how we do. And let's get to a couple more super chats because unfortunately, we'll get to you, Chris, in a second. But let's get to at least one more because we're getting these have been in the queue for a little bit. Van, again, thanks so much, Van. SGA reminds me a lot of James Harden. I was going to say he reminds me of Kobe. You're just
trying to fire up some people.
I am. I mean,
I see that. I see
shot
Kobe.
selection is like, and he makes them just like Kobe would make the bad shots too. But there's no. By the way, SGA should post up. He should, follow Kobe even more closely, I think.
Yeah, didn't you make a video a few years ago, Coach, about how Kobe emulated Jordan's game, but he just initiated his offense further away than Jordan did? And I think SGA gets closer.
Also, Harden is a lot better passer than SGA.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, much better.
Yeah, that doesn't ring as well. And again, not that SGA doesn't pass or can't pass, but it's just not his DNA. And not
he missed a lot of open guys tonight. He took harder shots than
it might have been on purpose. Like, he probably saw them. And he was
he definitely saw it.
I
forget who was in the corner. I think it may be Caruso, and he just did not. He was never going to pass it to him.
It worked at the end of the day,
Yeah.
There was a replay, I think, where you saw it. Like, you'd even see his face or his eyes. Like, and then he went and shot. I'm like, I remember. It's stuck in my brain. But you got to get more than 0 assists at that role.
Yeah. Did he finish with 0?
Now we can look at the blown assists. There might be a couple, but I can't even picture those right now in terms of anybody missing a shot that he passed to, whatever. So I think it's an interesting conundrum because they won and they had to do what they had to do. But they need to figure out something better for their offense in the half court. I just don't think it's sustainable. Even though they're better, like they don't need to play that frenetic pace that we see the Pacers have to do to compete.
Who is a better scorer, Prime SGA or Prime Harden? Well, SGA now or Prime Harden?
Ooh,
Probably Harden because of his passing. Regular season.
No, just scoring though, just scoring.
And then Harden was doing more.
Oh, just scoring,
better scorer.
Yeah. So Harden was doing the step back threes and like maybe creating some more space. Although he's not sagging off of him.
Harden used to score 50 like nothing.
Yeah,
and Harden had a pull up three off of a pick. Shea doesn't have that.
Yep, that's true.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of crazy at this point that he doesn't. Right. And we've been talking about it for a long time, and he's never really picked that up.
Yeah, maybe I have Curry PTSD, but every time I see a person just go over a screen at the top of the three, I'm thinking, okay, they need to shoot it. Yeah. And SGA just doesn't even look to shoot it. It's just so weird.
Yeah, he'll split it or he'll just go down it or whatever. I mean, and he's had a couple splits now where he's gone on the floor on turnovers.
Yeah.
So he probably needs to chill a little bit on that because they're so handsy on those. And they're whatever. They're not. This is a good series. This is what we wanted, right, in terms of physicality. One thing interesting that I tweeted this out is that we're getting a lot of full court pressure for both teams, which I love, right? So they're forcing you to take more time on the clock. It's harder to get in their offense. They're wearing them down. And it just sucks that you're never going to get this in the regular season because no one will ever do that like that, right? They're not going to wear themselves out. And so that's part of the reason why the regular season is never going to be able to, match the kind of – it's not even intensity. It's just the style because it's changed the game. We never see this, right? This is crazy to watch pros press each other. It's great.
Yeah, it's definitely enjoyable to be able to see this type of pressure in the playoffs. I was going to say one thing about Ben's comment is SGA – reminds me a lot of James Harden. Anytime I hear that comparison, I immediately think that what they're talking about is strictly foul baiting.
Yeah, right. Now remember, Harden's was different. Harden had the clamps. He had the sticking the arm straight out, and then hopefully that they'll come down on them. And it was funny because you'd almost think that he died for all of us, whatever. Like, he's the one who took all that crap so that we would, whatever. And instead, like they haven't let that go. And like, they're still angry about it. And here we are now having flash PTSD on it. Right.
Well, yeah. And then Harden also used to do the thing too, where while he's stationary around the 3-point line, he would do those horizontal rip throughs and pull up to shoot. You don't see SGA. You see SGA do that more off the dribble. Yeah. A quick pull. You don't see it from a stationary position like you saw with Harden, ripping horizontal. And that's Harden's probably one of the main reasons why him and Trae Young, I believe, were one of the main reasons why they added that rule to where it's not a shooting foul if they rip across horizontally and then go up. It's only a shooting foul if they get fouled when they rip up.
I think KD was the guy responsible for that.
Oh, yeah, that's another one too.
And I never liked that, by the way. Like I'm talking about how you pull up whenever you want to pull up and you can't tell somebody they can't pull up, because if the guy's on me and I want to pull up, because people are literally arguing about the SGA stuff. You can't pull up when you got a 7-footer in front of you like that. It's not basketball. I'm like, what are you talking about? And it was funny. I was just thinking about this. I was a really good shooter. I could pull up really well. I would clock guys sometimes on my pull-ups because they're like leaning in, they're trying to reach, and their head is there, and I'm just swinging my arms up, and I would feel bad about it. But I'm like, what do you want me to do? I have to be able to pull up when whatever. I wasn't trying to hit anybody, and so that would be what I call basketball fascism. And so I tweeted that out. We don't want that at all. You can't tell people they can't pull up whenever they want to. But the KD one, the rip through stuff, I never liked. I thought that was a problem. And then I'm glad that they at least legislated the free throw part of it. Now, I do think that there's a spin move thing with SGA, or maybe it was the one where he had the hand on the shoulder. It wasn't free throws, but because it was a bonus, he got the free throws. Remember that, Chip?
Right. There was a lot of those type plays tonight. We saw a lot of, basically the officiating crew tonight's their shoulders are going to be sore from waving off so many baskets tonight because there was a lot of fouls prior to the act of shooting tonight, but were very close calls, and so they have to be demonstrative in how they wave that off to make sure everybody knows. But then again, we were in bonus in every, both teams were in the penalty, I think, in every quarter tonight. Wow. We talked about the physicality of the talked about the physicality of this game. The refs did their best to mitigate that and try to reduce the physicality, but you can only reduce it so much. Like you mentioned, we still had 71 free throws tonight, guys. Did y'all know that? 71 free throws. 38 for OKC, 33 for Indiana. Indiana just happened to miss a lot more than OKC did down the stretch.
And I knew that, because the game took 3 hours. It was like it was just
it took a while.
But you know what's crazy is, I want to say this real quick. What's crazy is that you had that many free throws and fouls, but you still felt the game had a good pace throughout.
Right.
It's one of those weird things. It's, you had a lot of stoppages
at some point in there. I don't know when, but I was like, But anyway, we have so many super chats. We got to get through these. I want to make sure everyone can weigh in too. So we'll go round robin, whatever. So Dave Wu, thanks so much for the super chat. It's a huge number. I forgot what NT was. We've already done this with Dave before. It's somewhere maybe in Southeast Asia or Asia, somewhere like that, I think. But it's a $sign. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's like New Zealand, but NT. Anyway, someone will tell me in the chat. Coach, I've been following you since 12 Miami versus OKC. Wow. Here I am seeing OKC in the finals again. Crazy. Yes, Dave, I remember interacting with you for all these years. It's been great to see you. And really, it's kind of crazy. That is crazy. I've been doing this even longer than that, by the way. I think I can claim I don't know. There's many other people around since then, since 2010. It's cool to be here. So thank you so much for being part of the show. And OKC, they might be able to do it this time, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're 2 wins away.
It's certainly theirs for the taking too. I mean, it's a nice series right now. 2-2, they can get it done though.
And they're going to be home for Game 5, which will just going to decide the series. I'll say it right here. Shiny Haxorus, thanks again. Double super chat tonight. Would genuinely like you to rewatch the SGA Neesmith play and say he wasn't pushed off balance. Should judge while it's on screen and not from memory. I was actually looking for it. So talk, and then let me see if I can upload it to my computer.
Yep. So one thing I'll also say too is that remember then on that drive to the basket, in this particular play, Neesmith was not. Are we sure it was Neesmith who was fouled, or was it Nembhard?
Wait, is this the one where Naismith fouled out?
No, this is. I think he's going the drive to the baseline. He kind of pushes off, steps back, doesn't travel, shoots.
I think he's talking about the potential push off where he does a step back.
Oh yeah. Is he saying that's the trap? What is he saying?
No,
did he push off?
Neesmith or Nembhard? I thought it was.
It was.
But then again, back to his point, maybe I should watch it again and not just go from memory, because obviously I'm still guessing about who it is that was. So if it was Neesmith, great. I think we're talking about the same play. Neesmith or SGA had gotten head and shoulders past Neesmith. So Neesmith's on his side. He's not directly in his path. He's still kind of moving at an angle obliquely toward SGA when that contact initially occurs. And so that's why he could be responsible for the contact by rule. I'm not saying we have to like it. I'm not saying it's something that we should applaud. I'm just saying that by rule, I think that initial contact could be the foul before a push off. And in that case, it would be a defensive foul. But I'm not saying you're necessarily wrong. It does look like it could have been an extension there, or it could have been a push off and he displaced him or knocked him off balance. I just think that the closing of space, and we have to see as officials, is that defender in legal guarding position when initial contact occurred. If they're not, and it bumps that offensive player off balance, then all right, it is Neesmith. All right, good. All right, so let's take a look at it.
I'm not sure if it's going to play any very smooth, but
so I mean, you see here's a couple of things that you see on that play. All right, so you see hands in the chest as SGA is going by. So you see the left hand in the chest. You see that push of the jersey right there, and then you're also going to look to the feet, and you're going to see the foot-to-foot contact trip. That's why that was called.
So yeah, he did trip.
So I hate to say ignore the extension after the trip or after the foul, but the initial foul is on Neesmith, and that's kind of not debatable on this play. Did he extend after that? Maybe, but you're not going to call a double foul on this. It's a foul by the defender.
Yeah. I mean, I see, like, there is an elbow. I don't like when he gets the elbow up high like that.
Yeah,
I don't either.
He's been getting it pretty high. a few times
Yeah.
on his
This
drive.
is a bit of a glancing blow. Like, I'm not sure he really actually got a ton of, he didn't
That's
really
another
get,
thing is if it slides off,
yeah.
if it slides off the torso, it's less of an extension displacement. I think Neesmith actually gets displaced more from the foot-to-foot contact that he caused than he actually does from the arm extension.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. That was what caused that a lot of that the imbalance at the end there. So,
But also,
that's
just
just
saying
one.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, I also like you saying that you've noticed this because I have too. SGA getting his arm up a little high. We saw that the first foul call, you sent it to me the other day. The first foul call of game 3 was right after the jump ball, and SGA and Nembhard were hand fighting coming up the court, and then SGA does a provocative elbow up high and catches him in the face, and then they get that foul right away. So the refs are definitely in tune to that right now.
Yeah. All right, let's get to our next super chat. We got a whole bunch we got to get through. Dave, thanks so much, Dave, back from Moore. Also, as an OG follower, I recall Coach got frustrated by the 09 Lakers Kobe ISO a lot too. SGA kind of frustrate you the same way. I'm more frustrated with the offense than I am because it was with Kobe and they were running the triangle offense. It really was frustrating when it went to ISO because I knew, as I'm a triangle offense coach, I knew like what was supposed to happen, right? And that's when it would grind to a halt. It would frustrate me even more. With this, it's by design. Like they're telling him this is what you want to do: hold the ball, whatever. Let me get to that real quickly because down the stretch they were running ball screens with Neesmith's man and forcing switches. Makes no sense to me. Why are you running a ball screen with Neesmith's man? You should be running it with Hallie's man and let him go at Hallie or let him go at, I think Turner was in at that point, but there's got to be another defender you could attack out of that. So, the last 2 minutes, it was Nembhard, Neesmith, Halliburton, Turner, and Siakam. So obviously, and it's not Siakam. Siakam's the guy I think that Indiana should try and get on SGA more down the stretch. I really like him guarding SGA much longer, quick, just the same idea. Like he can cause him problems, and he did in game 3. But it's got to be Halliburton, right? I don't understand why they kept doing that 2 or 3 times in a row.
But Coach,
and he went and scored anyway. But I'm like, or got a foul. But it was like that's just too hard. It's a strategic mistake.
But Coach, they were using Jalen Williams as the primary ball handler, and Naismith was guarding him. So, and Nembhard was on SGA. So, at the top of the key, that's where that switch was happening, right? They didn't want to run it with whoever Halliburton was guarding.
Dort.
They weren't going to run the screen and roll with Dort or switch with Dort. They don't want Dort anywhere near the ball.
I mean, okay, but like he screens, they switch, he can get them right back in the corner or whatever. I don't know. That seems to me because look at the result. The result wasn't ISO anyway.
Yeah.
You got Neesmith now, who's awesome, and is really going to make it. Like I don't think. Listen, Nembhard is great, and that's why they love him. That's why I'm thinking like Siakam should be in that part of that discussion for defending him as well. But and so I think that Carlisle might get smart and figure out a way to get Siakam involved on that, so he's the one guarding SGA more. I think that would have made it even harder on SGA. And then you got to deal with J Dub as well. Like how do you deal with that? But again, if you got either Nembhard or Neesmith on him, then you're okay with that. So Indiana's got some options here. But at any rate, so I'm not as frustrated for whatever reason. The player, it's more of like of the offense itself. Okay, let's see here. Jiterace, thanks so much, Jiterace. Always great to see you on the show and really appreciate the super chat. Ben Mathurin down the stretch really cost Indy. Now, I swear I looked it up today and I was looking at that 3-man lineup that they played Mathurin, McConnell, and Toppin. It killed them, killed the OKC Thunder in game 3. And that 3-man lineup did not do well in the regular season and did not do well for the rest of the playoffs. It was interesting. All of a sudden, they came alive together. But as far as I could tell, Toppin is the only guy that was getting crunch time minutes in the playoffs. I don't think Mathurin played the last 5 minutes of the close game at all in the playoffs. So
I don't remember. I certainly don't remember it.
I looked. I did the crunch time minutes for the playoffs, and Mathurin did not exist in that list because he didn't play any minutes. So that was an interesting take. I mean, I know Mathurin.
He just had 27, right?
Right, but in this game, Mathurin was.
What you get some? I guess like it's like you play good, you get some credit. For manage. Yeah.
Wait. Is this possibly right? Mathurin played less than 14 minutes.
Yeah, I think he played 13.
13:53, 1 for 2, 5 for 8. I feel like he shot more than 2 shots, but he didn't. Like, that's interesting. And then
he shot more than 2 free throws. That's for sure.
He played 14 minutes. Yeah.
Mathurin was out there at the very end, and then he cost him. He was out there for the last 43 seconds, and
only because of Naismith fouled out though.
Oh, right, that's true. Okay, that's why. You're right. I forgot. Yes, and as a result, he went 1 for 4 from the line, and he fouled twice.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a chance. What's the only other choice is McConnell, right?
Yeah,
right.
but
he
didn't play in the second half.
Yeah, he didn't. And one of those fouls was away from the play foul, which is costly. It's an extra free throw, and they get the ball back.
Yeah,
from Mathurin. It was when he kind of ran over SGA from behind after after they had the ball out.
Yeah, that was rough. And it's too bad because the Naismith foul out. I forgot. Yeah, so he had a choice there, and maybe it's not the worst, and it's 43 seconds, maybe whatever. And by the way, at that point, at the 43-second mark when he comes in, I'm trying to see if I can figure out what the score is. It was already.
I think it was a 3-point game only. It was only a 3-point game, I think.
Yeah, right. 106, 103. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting take where, because you could have gone TJ, couldn't you? I don't know.
Does he have many clutch minutes?
No, he didn't have them either. It was only Toppin of those 3.
Right.
So that's a tough one. Yeah. We got to pull apart Naismith's minutes to find out if they needed to get him off a little bit more when he was in foul trouble. But I feel like Naismith
played 30 minutes.
Yeah, he got 2 fouls. No, he only had 1 foul in the first quarter, and he only had 2 fouls at half. And then he had 3 fouls in the third. So he must have gotten 3 fouls in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he got them quick. He got like 2 of them back to back on SGA, I believe.
So he played he started the fourth quarter as he should have because he was out for a long stretch in the third, and got them all in that stretch. So that was tough. I don't think Carlisle could have done much about that. But let's get to our next super chat. So Lobato, thanks so much, Lobato. The Naismith switches on SGA was the game, right? Because it was a foul, I think, and then he hit a shot, or maybe it was a couple fouls. And then he hit a couple shots, right?
Yeah, it was a couple fouls. SGA entered the fourth quarter with only 2 free throws.
Right.
It was a bunch of fouls.
Where they could have pre-switched him out of there when he had like the 5th foul, for instance, and gotten Siakam there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
need to do a better job.
I think that they'll make. And by the way, again, I want Siakam there. Siakam, I think on SGA is a terrific matchup for the Pacers. Believe it or not, defensively, I think he could be the best for them. He's so long.
That would be interesting.
That could be knocked backwards a little bit and then still get his hand up and cause problems. So, all right, let's go to Braun. Thank you so much, Braun. Best friend of the breakdown. Always great to see you. Why is Lou Dort's shooting arc so high? Man, is it crazy? And you know what? It's been working for him, and he's been elite for a couple of years now. But I have to imagine it's all over the place. He'll make 3 in a row. He'll miss 8 in a row. And then, everything in between. The air conditioning will affect it. It's that high. Again, the higher the arc, the bigger the target on the way down. So there's a physics thing there, but it's also harder to control when you get it that high. So there's the 47, 48 degree, which I like is a nice, optimal arc. He did make one though, where he had to shoot it that high because somebody was right in his face.
Right in his face.
Oh no, SGA's on his team. Who was it? Was it McConnell or somebody was right in his face on a contest, or maybe it was like Turner. I don't even remember, but he got it over him. So there's an example where it's like he's used to shooting those, and so he knows how to control them. But man, I don't know what's going on there. But it's sometimes you just gotta experiment and you find out that that's what it is.
Yep.
All right. Well, listen, I think we got to our last super chat somehow after all that. Cliffside's back. This is like a nice bookend here with Cliffside, the first one, Cliffside, probably the last one here. Side note, why are there so many assistant coaches in the NBA? Cliffside, you have no idea how much that stabs me in the heart when you ask that question. But anyway, one day we'll tell everybody. OKC and Indy each have 7. That's more coaches than players on the floor. There's an explosion. There used to be in 1980 something. I was looking. I wanted to find out like who made a decision from a game in the 81 finals, and it was like the only person you're going to find is either the head coach or maybe the one assistant that was sitting next to him on that bench, who might still be alive because it's so long ago. And now, they all have certain areas that they're focused on. So you have the player development side, and a lot of teams will have 6 of those, right? I mean, the Warriors have 18 coaches or something like that. And so you have like 6
Yeah.
months of development, and then who ends up being on the bench and are part of like the coaching staff during the games. Then you have your defensive coach, then you have your offensive coach, then you have your, I don't know, your timeout coach or something like that, right? And then next thing you know, you get tons of coaches.
Dude, we even have
optimal. I have no idea.
We even have some high schools in my local area around here that have 6 or 7 assistant coaches on their bench. It's crazy, dude.
And they all sit together on the end?
They all sit together. Well, a couple of them will sit down at the other end of the bench or be sprinkled in between the players, but it's crazy. Like there's more assistants on the bench than there is player, but they've all got a job. Like they've all got something that head coach has them do and focus on. And that's the same with a lot of the programs in our area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, Coach, but like you mentioned the Warriors have a lot. Back in 2015, in versus the Cavs in the finals. I don't know if you remember who Nick Urin is. He was an assistant, right?
Yeah.
He noticed, hey, put Bogut on. Was it Tony Allen?
Tony Allen, yeah.
And that literally just won them the series. That small thing, he just noticed, hey, we don't need to guard him.
Right.
Just put the center on him, and it'll just kill their whole offense.
And Nick wasn't even on the coaching staff at all. He was an assistant to Kerr.
Oh, was he like in the video room or something like that?
No,
right?
No. This is I know Nick pretty well. At that point, he wasn't like a part of like the coaching. He was sort of the assistant to the head coach. But that's more of a testament in my mind to Coach Kerr, where he's willing to listen and to people's suggestions. Maybe even people in this chat right now. I don't know, but you never know who he listens to. So at the very least, he is a guy who will anyone who has a good idea, he will use it and implement it. And that's why he's such a great coach as it is. So So, but as a result, you have all these massive coaching staffs, and they take up a lot of space. And then you have the players all the way down the other side. You want to know how many coaches I ended up having next to me when I was a head coach in high school?
How many?
Zero. I was lucky I had my one assistant with me because they got paid like $1,000 for like the 6 months of the season. And it was really hard to demand. Like, you got to be there for all these games. So they would be there for some of them. But I would say the majority of the games I coached by myself. So imagine that. I can't even imagine having even 1 or 2 people next to me helping me. That'd be amazing. So anyhow, that's the end of the super chats. Believe it or not, I don't think I missed anybody. I quickly go through this.
No, I think you got one.
Snuck in one more.
Who did? Oh, there's one. Okay. Ben. Oh, Ben. All right. Oh, great. Ben got one more. Thank you so much, Ben. It's always great to have you as part of the show. Should the Pacers play Pascal, Obi, Turner at the same time? So that would kind of be going really big. Well, I mean, Obi is not big, but is that suboptimal? What adjustments can the Pacers make? So the one I said about Pascal playing SGA more, I would like to see. And again, Toppin, how many minutes did Toppin play?
He played 29.
Yeah, he got a lot of minutes tonight.
Yeah, so that's tough. I don't think you can get him more. I mean, I think that's about it, right?
Yeah.
That's a good number. That's probably the high for him, right? I mean, if I look quick.
I would think.
Combo, I wanted to ask you.
He had a little bit of a hot hand, so you wanted to keep him on the floor a little bit.
What's up, Chris?
I was going to ask you, what do you think? I think I mentioned it to you last game, Coach, too. Like, what do you think of staggering Mathurin? If you're going to play I think they should play Mathurin a little bit more, but staggering him with Halliburton. So if Halliburton's off, Mathurin's in the game. Today, they played them both at the same time instead of staggering. And I think their offense wasn't really great in those stretches.
I actually think if Mathurin had his own team on like a bad team, he could average like 25 points in the NBA. I
could see that. Yeah. I think why Mathurin does work alongside Hali is that Hali could get downhill, skip it, and now you got Mathurin attacking
on a closeout. Exactly.
Mathurin is Matherin's a half court player more than a transition player, which is like a little weird on this team. But you need guys like that. Like that's why Pascal was so great, because he was a guy who could score in the half court to balance it out. But I do think this is not like the most optimal play style for Mathurin, even though he's really good for this team. Like, I think he would thrive more in half court offense.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I'm looking at this real quickly because the adjustment here, the Pacers made 11 threes. The Thunder made 3. Now,
it's not a
1. Yeah. I can tell you, I bet you I can count on one hand the amount of teams this year that won after being outscored by 8 3-pointers.
Doesn't happen.
Yeah, if someone else wants to talk, I'll go call it up on StatHead because that is insane to me. And I kind of sensed that because I felt like, oh, Indiana was shooting better, but I also didn't feel like they were shooting great, and they weren't. That is,
I don't think it was enough. They didn't have enough attempts. Well, it wasn't enough variance. There wasn't enough attempts on the pace. I think if it was like if OKC made 10 and then the Pacers made 19, then it would be okay. But it was only 11-3. I don't think it was enough on either end.
There has to be an answer, and that could very well. That sounds as good as any other answer I'm going to hear. Let me see if I can find net 3-point field goals greater than or equal to 8. And then hit the results here. Oh, you know what? I mean, it's still by wins. But anyway, I'm going to tell you in a second. Whoa. Oh, I got to log in again. It says I'm logged in. It says, hi, coach. I'm going to log in again or something. Anyway, sometimes StatHead makes you log in, even though it looks like you're logged in. But anyway, whatever it is going to be hard. It looks like there's 5 games for somebody out, scored for. So let me do that one more time.
Do we think that the Pacers are going
to hear from you?
Yeah. Do we think that the Pacers are going to make many more adjustments, or do we feel like their game plan was successful for the most part tonight, except down the stretch?
That's a good question.
Do they need to make more adjustments, or is that something OKC's fiddling around with? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they probably. I mean, right? Who feels good about this? Does Indiana feel pretty good? I mean, they lost at home. They lost a golden chance, having had a little bit of a lead here. Indiana had a 7-point lead with 11 minutes to go.
Yeah.
They also had a 4-point lead with 3:20 to go.
Yeah, they lost the game at the last 3 minutes. With
Matherin's fouls and free throws really hurt them.
That too. They could have. It would have either tied the game or they would have been down 1 if he makes them right. So, who knows? And they turned the ball. They turned the ball over the next possession, right? Like they were doing some weird stuff on their inbounds tonight. OKC turned the ball over a lot on their inbounds.
That was in game 3. Wait, did they do it this game too?
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember, it was the beginning of the 4th. They just threw the ball in the middle, and then I think Siakam goes coast to coast with it. Yeah. Like it was just weird. It went through Caruso's hands.
Oh yeah, I remember.
You remember that one? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Well, so Caruso, for a second I thought Caruso wasn't looking. I'm like, how could you not be looking on that cut? He open. And then it looked like he was with the pass that he threw it kind of too hard. Kendrick Williams threw a little too hard. Got a little excited. But I went through his hands, right? You kind of got to catch that one.
Yeah, it touched both. He would have had a layup.
Yeah. Here's the record for teams that had scored 8 or more threes in this season. It was 187-20, if my math is correct, which is 90-something%. Wow. Again, I know I get what you're saying as far as the low attempts. So it's like the variance wasn't high enough.
Yeah.
But man, you're still getting outscored by 24 points from the 3-point line, and and it was close and they were there, yeah. But anybody else. And by the way, I bet you the average margin when you're scoring 8 or more is got to be plus 10 easy. I mean, I'm looking at it right now, plus 10, plus 9, plus 14, plus. I mean, it looks to me, my eyeballing this, that yes, the average margin is double digits. So weird game, And again, did the turnovers factor in? Let's see here. 13 City, and
it was dead even.
Oh yeah,
I got 15 from the Pacers. So a couple more.
And the points that they conceded off the turnovers was off ESPN. It says 25-23. It was even. Yeah.
So it's just SGA and J-Dub just being tough down the stretch, I guess, right?
And J-Dub had it. We didn't give him enough credit tonight. He had a freaking awesome game.
Yeah. Well, he just for a minute there, and then he came back and finished strong. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what did he end with? I didn't even see, but I know he had a
27.
18. Yeah, 27.
27. That's pretty
he
good.
shot 11 free throws. He made all of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
that's a response after missing the 2 yesterday or 2 on Wednesday
night.
Yeah. Yeah. So they came with it. They did what they had to do, and no matter how they, and the guy. By the way, Game 5, this is going to be Mortal Kombat. I'm telling you. And I don't know if Foster's going to get the game again or who they're going to send. But
I was about to say, I'm interested to see who's going to get this game. It won't be the Crew tonight, I don't believe. You'd probably see one or two of them in Game 6 or save some for Game 7 if that happens.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting. I expect to see a Mark Davis on a game tomorrow night or the next game.
Others.
I expect to see something like that. Because again, they had to call a lot of fouls tonight to reduce the physicality, and they still didn't reduce the physicality enough. Right. You know what I mean? So it's going to be one of those type things. And hey, before we go, I got to give a shout out to you, Coach, because this is one of those examples. Earlier in the game tonight, you text me saying that first one should be a flagrant 1, and I said I agreed with Steve Javi's assessment that it should be a common foul and then a double technical foul. That first start, that foul by Toppin. And it turns out you were right. They did upgrade to a flagrant 1 on that. So I got to give you your flowers on that.
Well, thank you. Well, my point was they got to clean it up now. Like this was really rough. And by the way, it was connected to the play in Game 3 when Naismith grabbed Caruso. And they didn't call that a flagrant. And I thought that should have been a flagrant. I said that in the video today.
Me too.
In my mind, like these are pieces that fit together in a way. And they're like, okay, we didn't do it last time. We got away from that. Like we got out of that situation without a fight or anything like that. But this is now, turning into something. So that made a lot of sense to me. I felt like it was a good example. But again, it didn't really tone anything down, right? It
didn't tone much down. And then you have a few possessions later, we've got a flagrant on the other end on that play that you were talking about. Should get the Pacers fans in a,
the Dort.
Because the Dort one. And so I wanted to make one quick point about that play. If they had called that foul on Caruso instead of Dort on the floor, remember we talked last time about how they will only call a common foul on the floor, then they'll go to upgrade. If that common foul they called on the floor was on Caruso, I could have seen a scenario like Steve Javi said, that you keep the foul on Caruso because it absolutely was a foul, and then you'd have like what we'd consider like a dead ball technical foul on Dort for that contact, that excessive contact while the ball was dead. But as soon as I heard that they called, because I didn't know who they called it on at first, as soon as I saw that they called it on Dort before they even announced it, I sent a group text to my buddies and said, I expect this is going to be upgraded to a flagrant 1 and there's going to be no penalty for Caruso. So they're just going to upgrade to a flagrant 1, and that's what they ended up doing. But you got one on one end, you got one on the other end, and then you got the double technical fouls as well. So anyway, physical series, exciting series. I just had to give you your flowers about that one because you were absolutely right and I was wrong.
Well, thanks. I will be. I wish I could put money on it. Where I bet you there will be a flagrant foul in Game 5.
I'm sure
I'm in on putting money on
bet for that. There's some where you can bet on that, right?
Yeah. Well, I have a new sponsor, Kalshi, that you do all sorts of bets on different things. But I don't know if that's popped up like that. But somebody might. I'm in California, otherwise I can't bet anywhere. But anyway,
I can't either. Since I'm on the show, I have to say to everybody, I cannot gamble either. I cannot bet on games either. So just wanted to put that out there.
And listen, people are upset sometimes when I do the advertisements, and I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. And I just hope that if people have a problem, they know where they can get help. So this is what it is. It's so integrated in the NBA as it is now at the advertising and everything like that. It's
everywhere.
Like it is. And my kid, I got to pay for my kid's braces this month. So
that's right.
So at any rate, all right. Well, listen, thank you guys for staying up late with us. Combo, always great to have you. I'm so glad that you join us tonight and stay up with us. So we'll be back again. I know the game's on Monday, so maybe we'll just maybe we won't do our normal Monday show during the day. We'll just do a post-game show. So
I don't think I'm actually speaking on a panel that day about the current state of basketball and overseas basketball, and then we're doing a watch party right after. So I probably won't be able to make Monday, but we can do something during the week.
Together during the day.
Definitely during the day. I'm there.
All right, you got it. All right, well, thanks so much, everybody. Thanks all for the super chats. Everybody out there is really great. Awesome show. Huge crowd today. Great game. And Game 5 will be even better. I guarantee it. And again, we'll have a flagrant foul on that one, I'm sure. So don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.